Oh, we've hit maximum craziness in the NBA. I love it.
Luka Doncic in Los Angeles today. Let's take a listen.
You don't come here for nothing else than championship, so I have everything left to prove. I thought I was going to spend my whole career there because I think loyalty is a big word for me, and I was trying to stay by that. But this for me is a fresh start. I get to play in LA. The guys are amazing, and I got the ocean here, so it's a really big thing for me.
All right, George Sedano, I don't need to say any more. You were there. You talked to him one-on-one. How did you hear Luka Doncic?
I still think he's processing things, Tony. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He kind of alluded to being in shock for 24 hours. But when I asked him, even off camera, just about like, hey, how's it going, the process of just your life, he's like, yeah, that's still all being sorted out. So I do think that there's a human aspect to this that he's trying to figure out. But I think he's excited about the prospects. I don't think there's any question. You talk about the Lakers. I mean, Rob Pelinka once called Kentavious Caldwell-Pope manna from heaven. This is real manna from heaven. It's like a lottery ticket falling from the sky. And the fact that they're able to get this particular player at 25 years old is just another in the long line of Laker opportunities for them to take advantage of. Now, as far as on the floor, I asked Luka specifically how he thought it would work with him and LeBron. He didn't think there'd be any issues with him and LeBron. Obviously, he knows how high an IQ player he is. He's competed against him for a ton of years. He's looking forward to learning from him, Tony. He still thinks there's a lot that he could learn from someone like LeBron James. So Luka excited while still clearly processing this situation.
Frank Isola, I'll turn to you. Some of the sound bites we just played, or the entire press, or how'd you hear Luka Doncic?
Yeah, when Luka walked in, I was expecting to see the Goodyear blimp, the way everyone talked about how out of shape he is and he looks terrible. I thought he looked pretty good. He looked exactly like the guy that led them to the finals 7 months ago. So that was Luka Doncic, and the answers that he gave, it was classic Luka. He's not going to offer too much. I thought it was interesting, Brad Townsend out of Dallas asked him about signing a Supermax, and did anybody from your team give any indication to the Mavericks that you would not be interested in doing that? He said absolutely not. So I thought it was, to me, he still sounds a little in shock. He sounds a little bitter, but I think he also knows he's in a really great situation. It's the Lakers. They're always going for it. Great living situation. He gets to play with LeBron. LeBron won with Anthony Davis. He won with Kyrie, Kevin Love, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade. Why can't he win with Luka Doncic?
Kevin Black is throwing around the horn to you.
Yeah, I'm like Frank. I picked up on a little bit of the bitterness, even in that clip that you showed where he said, I thought I was going to be there my entire career. And to know that $116 million was swept off the table in front of him in this deal, and now at 25 years old, he has everything to prove, and he's only playing with the best player of a generation or two right next to him, who, by the way, is probably about the healthiest athlete that we know of any sport. So there's an example for him. And how is it going to work out on the floor? I think it'll work out great, because here's a guy who, and I'm not saying he is LeBron, but his game is kind of like LeBron in that he can distribute the basketball. So now you've got two guys who can play on the wing, and maybe LeBron, until the Lakers make another deal to get somebody in the middle, because they're still going to have to do that. He's got a second passer out there. So I think it's going to be difficult for defenses, but it's going to take a while for the Lakers to adjust.
David Dennis Jr.
Yeah, you guys hear bitterness. I hear motivation. This guy carried this Dallas Mavericks team to the finals while averaging over his career the second most points per game in playoff history behind Michael Jordan. And a few months later, you get shipped off in the middle of the night, and all you hear from the Dallas Mavericks is how you're out of shape, how you don't play defense, and how you're a detriment to this team. And this guy, and beyond all of that, as KB mentioned, they cost the guy more than $100 million. That is something that'll motivate anybody. As far as him playing with LeBron, they've been asking questions about, can these two guys coexist as ball handlers? Both of these guys have made it to at least the finals with Kyrie Irving as teammates. They know how to play with other people who dominate the ball. The question for the Lakers is, who are they going to have in the middle? They have a few days to figure out a center and some defense, because they did lose that with Anthony Davis. That's a big piece here. But LeBron and Luka are going to be able to play together just fine.
George, I want to go back to you again on how you heard motivation, or how he spoke to his overall feeling after what seems to be, stages of grief, right? We talk about that. This is a real example of that, I think.
Oh, I don't think there's any question, Tone. But once that guy gets on the basketball floor, he's a killer. So I don't think that stuff will last for too long once he gets on the floor, which could be potentially sometime in the next week or so. I think originally Dallas was hoping he'd get back before the All-Star break. Now, in regards to LeBron, though, real quick, I know Charles Barkley, and I love Chuck, has made some comments about them not being able to play together, and LeBron needs the ball in his hands. Austin Reeves has been the primary ball handler for the Lakers recently. That has been a real switch. So LeBron has played off the ball, and I think LeBron also remembers Dwayne Wade got off the ball for him. This is now an opportunity for LeBron to get off the ball for Luka in some ways and kind of play that Dwayne Wade role a little bit like Dwayne did in Miami.
I can see you already going through the X's and O's here in your mind, George. You think this team can get to contending this year?
Well, I don't know. They need a big man, and Rob Pelinka was honest about saying they don't, it's not like something that they can just acquire because they want to. They can't will it to happen. But I do think one thing that hasn't been discussed, Tone, I think this could extend LeBron's career a little longer if he's willing to play that Dwayne Wade role. Everyone talks about how next year could be his last year because he's under contract. If he gets to play with Luka, he could definitely play longer. Like, he's certainly playing at a high level.
Frank, I saw the last word after the horn.
It's amazing. Great players figure out a way. LeBron's first year in Miami, they eventually figured out. LeBron, first time he went to the finals, he had Larry Hughes and Zydrunas Ilgauskas. And last year, when you were looking at the Mavericks, you're thinking, Luka's really going to take Kyrie, Daniel Gafford, P.J. Washington, Derek Lively to the final, and that's exactly what he did by smoking everyone in the Western Conference. These two guys, I agree with everyone here, they still need help, but those two guys will make it work.
Couple days before the trade deadline, not a lot to trade for LA. Maybe Pelinka could trade that jacket. That is a great look. You put that in black, I'm never taking it off. That is a great look. We'll move on. Now to that unbelievable headline. Warriors want LeBron James and Kevin Durant before the trade. Sure they do. Yes, of course. That comes from the Steinline's Jake Fisher. Okay, so there's wants and then there's realms of possibility. But the two sides of this, LeBron, could he say he wants out of LA? After what we just said, it doesn't sound like that, but there you go. Could he say he wants Curry? And then Durant, maybe more likely, could Phoenix blow up the sun and trade him, Golden State or anywhere? The third is how Golden State makes any of this happen with the pieces they have in capital. But put that to the side for a second. Frank, where do you want to start?
Well, the Warriors are definitely winning the headline battle. Whether or not they could pull any of this off is another story. If Kevin Durant is made available, and I don't buy it because Matt Ishbia is still going for it. They're trying to get Jimmy Butler. He keeps doubling down on all the moves that he made. But if you're going to trade Kevin Durant, there's going to be a lot of teams that would be interested. Look no further than Houston. They have young players. He was with Ime Udoka in Brooklyn. They have a relationship. Houston has picks. If Kevin Durant's available, you're rebuilding, and you better get a lot for him. I'm not buying him going to the Golden State Warriors.
Kevin Blackistone?
I just can't see the Suns staying together. I mean, it seems like we get to some point in the season the last couple of years and we talk about whether or not the Suns can go forward with what they have. And I don't think that they can. So obviously KD would be the one that's up for grabs. And as Frank just pointed out, the relationships that he already has back with the Warriors is a real drawing card, I think, for him. As far as LeBron going there, I just absolutely I can't see it. But a tip of my hat to the NBA for keeping this drama alive. My goodness.
David Dennis Jr.
Let's start with the Golden State Warriors front office, who have been the masters of the hypothetical we shoulda, we coulda, we almost had a trade for the past 4 years. They almost had Paul George. They almost had Markkanen. They just this week said we almost had Zach LaVine and Vucevic together. Now we could almost get LeBron and KD 2 days before this, and failing in all of these trades while trying to act like they have something in store to give Stephen Curry a second option, which they have failed to do for the past few years. Now, Phoenix, on the other hand, Phoenix moving on for Kevin Durant would be the first smart thing that organization has done in some years, because that would mean they understand that Kevin Durant and getting some of those picks back will be the only option for them not to be mediocre at best for the next few years. They've mortgaged their future for the KD, Beal, Booker core, and that core has not worked, and it doesn't seem like it'll work anytime soon. The only option is to move on from KD. No disrespect to him because he's still one of the great players, but that's the only way that Phoenix can get out of the hole.
So Phoenix should be looking to blow up
in.
the Sun. Can you put out a destination for Durant then, David?
I mean, I do think Golden State actually makes a lot of sense. They do have the young players. They do have some picks, and Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry have proven to win, and I think they can still do that.
George Sedano, around the horn of you.
All right, Tony, let's start with the LeBron aspect of this. I don't believe LeBron's going to leave the Lakers. First of all, Dave McMenamin has already reported that LeBron is not leaving the Lakers. So let's start with that. And for reasons understandably so. First, they got Luka here, as I mentioned. That could extend his career. He wants to play with his son, and he's doing that with the Los Angeles Lakers. And if he went to the Warriors, let's just say in this hypothetical, it's a zero-sum game. He goes there. If they don't win a championship, it's his fault. He takes the blame. Why would he do that? In regards to Durant, I don't think Matt Ishbia, I think they're going to listen. I don't think he's trying to push Kevin Durant out the door. It would be smart because you're not trading Devin Booker. He just became your all-time leading scorer. He's going to be your son for life, basically. And Durant can actually net you something, whereas Bradley Beal seems to be a negative asset in the marketplace at the moment. I think, if anything, Paul George kind of still makes the most sense for the Warriors as far as someone who's attainable.
Frank, I still give you the last word here.
Come on, George. You know LeBron never gets blamed for anything when a team loses. I think he wants to stay in L.A. But for Kevin Durant, he never should have left Golden State in the first place. He had 1-2 there. He would have won many more. I get why he'd want to go back there. But if I'm Phoenix, I got to get a young player and pick.
Houston
I'm
is
not fine with the
fascinating,
Warriors.
Frank. You brought it up. Would Houston make a move, though, after everything they did, roster construction, and how they're ahead of schedule now in the top half of their conference? I don't know. Taking a break. Buy or sell next. Top half. Top four. Around the Super Bowl LIX. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Super Bowl Tootsie Pop? You have to be 50 to get that reference. Media night. Here's Jalen Hurts on motivation.
Lit a fire in me, and to have this opportunity again is exactly what you work for. Just being able to become wiser, grow and mature, and take all these lessons in for the next season and the next games.
Talking about that loss to Kansas City in the Super Bowl a few years ago. George, how do you think Super Bowl experience affects Hurts' performance Sunday?
Tony, I think experience is the greatest teacher, but the Niners also thought that too last year, and they were within seconds of making it work in their favor, but it did not. So I still think the Chiefs are the team to beat here.
David Dennis Jr.?
Yeah, I think the experience is going to have to work in his favor, because one thing the Chiefs are probably going to do with their top 10 rushing defense is they're going to make Jalen Hurts beat them. They're going to focus on Saquon Barkley, and he's going to have to channel the Jalen Hurts from a couple years ago if the Eagles are going to have a shot.
Kevin Blackistone.
Well, it's not like Jalen Hurts, the last time he was in the Super Bowl, played shaky, right? I mean, he played great. 304 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He did have a couple of fumbles. Those were bad, but I think he'll be just fine on this stage once again.
Frank Isola.
Yeah, and Kevin, that first half fumble really cost them. You know, experience matters, but Patrick Mahomes has all the experience you need. So there will come a point you cannot kick field goals against the Chiefs and hope to win. You have to cut down your mistakes, because ultimately it'll come down to Patrick Mahomes figuring out a way to get it done like he always does.
Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns as well in that game, in addition to the total yards nearly at 400. But David, I liked your argument there that
Chasing the game.
focusing on Barkley. No, they were leading that game for a good chunk of it too. They weren't chasing.
They were then they were chasing it.
Buy or sell 2 more Super Bowl. Yeah, let's
the
go.
Men and women that officiate in the NFL are outstanding. They have the highest possible standards. That's ridiculous theory for anyone who might take it seriously.
And if winning football games makes you a villain, we're going to keep going out there and doing it.
You had to know questions, and those answers were coming, but there you go. Commissioner Goodell on refereeing, and Patrick Mahomes on being the villain. David, you think any spotlight on reffing and villainy on Sunday will negatively affect this game?
Look, this is the NFL we're talking about. This doesn't even crack the top 10 refereeing scandals that we have in big game situations. Everything will be fine. The first time there's a Patrick Mahomes roughing the passer, people are going to raise a fuss. Unless there's some catastrophic call at the end of this game, everybody's going to forget about this and we'll, focus about the players.
You're convinced of that. Kevin Blackistone, how about you?
Well, I love the word villainy, and that's what jumps out here, and that's what Kansas City has become. I mean, are they the Darth Vaders of the game? I don't think so, but I think people are tired of seeing them. I think, as David just mentioned, people are tired of seeing Mahomes get away with things that other quarterbacks can't get away with, and I think that's what makes them the ones that nobody wants to see win.
All right, guys, Sola.
Yeah, I was fully expecting Roger Goodell to say, you know what, I was watching film of some of these Chiefs games. There was some head-scratching calls. Of course he's going to defend his officials in that case. You know, once upon a time, the perception was that Michael Jordan got all the calls and the Bulls won. Here we are all these years later, and Patrick Mahomes, the perception is he gets all the calls and they win all the time. You tell me.
George Sedano.
Tony, while I don't believe there's some sort of conspiracy, conspiracies are usually rooted in some semblance of the truth, right? It's just how you maneuver through that truth. And the Chiefs have only been called for one holding call in their appearances
Well, here we
in
go.
the Super
All right.
Bowl. So that's why people hold on to that type of stuff. There's a stat for you. Now, in regards to the villainy of it all, I love that Mahomes is embracing it. You know, I wish LeBron would have embraced it many years ago. I think that just live in your own world, man.
Right.
People don't like you because you're winning. Keep proving them wrong.
Kevin, you brought up a movie villain or something like that. To me, it's more wrestling, right? You know, it's the baby face and the heel and how both can really work. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3. The Rams to trade Cooper Kupp. We know this because Cooper Kupp announced it, but he said it's coming out. The team told him they love him, but they're going to move on from him. Kupp says he loves LA. He wants to stay there. So I guess the question is whether they should really do this, need to do this, but also no shortage of teams interested. Kevin, who are you buying for Cooper Kupp?
Well, I'm buying the team. Look, this is a business, and they have a new Cooper Kupp. Everybody knows that, and so that makes him very expendable. You can have too many slot receivers, I think, and I think that's what the Rams are
All
deciding
right, give me a
to do.
destination for Cooper Kupp. It's like you hadn't considered it. Even when I asked you, it's like, oh, well, a team of the Frank Isola. How about you?
Yeah, it's a salary cap situation. I love how he got out in front of the story saying, I don't agree with what they're doing. What about San Francisco? He could stay in California. I think the 49ers next year could have a good bounce back here. That's
George Sedano?
Tony, this is very simple. It's all about finances. But, you know, Cooper Kupp is like Randy Newman. He loves L.A. Who can blame him at this point? Luka's in town now. But ultimately, I think the spot for him, the Chiefs, they were rumored for him at the deadline this past season. So I could see the Chiefs coming in and bringing in Cooper Kupp.
David Dennis Jr.
4 in a row.
This is what we in wrestling would call a heel turn for George Sedano, arguing for the Chiefs to be even stronger in the offseason right now. I think for Cooper Kupp, yeah, this is unfortunate. There's money involved with this. I think actually he'd be really good with the Bills and Josh Allen as another option for him offensively. But any team, I think, is going to be lining up to get Kupp added to the squad.
Stories. We just did the NBA stories where everything has to be, oh, who's the Lakers getting? Who's Golden State getting? And then, who's KC getting? You know, no one wants to say the Bengals as an option. Nobody wants. Just have them stay in LA and the Chargers. KB, have you had a chance to think about it?
Jaden Daniels could use a secondary receiver.
He picks the town with the name in the background. I see what's happening here. Thank you for your time. David Dennis Jr., Frank Isola. That's our showdown next. Trae Young's game winner last night, people. The shot, of course, huge, but it had been recreating the Allen Iverson step over. Trae over Malik Beasley like Iverson over Tyronn Lue. David, grade the sequel.
I'm going to give this a B+. Allen Iverson did this against the dynastic Los Angeles Lakers in Game 1 of the Finals. But Trae Young, this was a great time. And this is also a reminder that this dude was a snub in the All-Star this year. 23-10, lead the league in assists. He should be in the All-Star game.
Isola?
I'll give it a C+. Remember, Iverson's was done right in front of the Laker bench. That's a little bit different. Now, Cade Cunningham, who made the All-Star team, was on the court right there. Another thing to keep in mind, February 23rd, these two teams have to play again. Be careful going down the lane. Isaiah Stewart plays for the Detroit
Yeah, we see what he was.
that.
You guys are hard graders. I wasn't saying he was better than Iverson, just grade to have the presence of mind to do it like that quickly. I loved it.
That's true.
We'll move on. Showdown 2.
In this free agency, man, I'm a free agent. I really don't got no job. Who should sign me in free agency?
I think New York need a quarterback right now.
New York, who?
The Giants.
Okay, brother.
Yeah, I know Dave will get you right.
All right, Frank. First, you got to grade Jameis Winston, the reporter, and secondly, on the idea the Giants can use Jameis.
He gets an A for being a reporter because everyone on this panel knows be ready for a follow-up, and that was a really smart follow-up. Which New York team you're talking about, dude? Saying, you know what? If you're the New York Giants, New York Jets as a backup, Jameis became a very likable player. I'll take it.
David Dennis Jr.
An A for the journalism, a C- for Saquon Barkley as a person I'm going to ask advice from. Why would you send the guy to the New York Giants of all places when he's looking for a job as a
Wasn't he
quarterback?
trolling,
I don't know if I'd ask Saquon for any help.
They need a quarterback.
Frank guy stole in 30 seconds of FaceTime.
Wow, here we go. So February 2nd, this weekend, which was dominated by Luka, you know what happened on that day? 2 number 22s had their number retired. Asia Wilson in South Carolina, Caitlin Clark in Iowa. Think about that. Asia Wilson already has a statue, so she's also one up. When you think about Caitlin Clark, she's got the banner going up, the number 22 in Iowa. How long before an Indiana banner goes up? See what they've done, the Fever? They've added Sophie Cunningham, Natasha Howard, and then the Swiss Army knife, DeWanna Bonner. Indiana's got things rolling, folks. They got it rolling. That could be a dangerous team.
Thank you for your time today, Frank. Thank you for your time today, Kevin, David, George, and thank you for that jacket.
I give
Rob
up the great
Pelinka.
one.
What a jacket. Remind me of Ray Liotta's in Goodfellas when
Fonzie
he's going out to
jacket.
Bruce. Remember that?